I am not a person. I am a flame on assignment. Each night someone lifts a match to me, then leaves me to guard a lane only wide enough for one secret to pass through. You should know, my light does not defeat fog. We negotiate. Fog grants me a small circle to see, and in return, I must close my eyes to everything just outside the ring. Whitechapel loves the dark the way people love things they can blame. Here, some shoes walk into night and never return. Some names sleep in torn coat pockets, shouted only when absence makes the city rehearse them. And then a name was chosen to carry the fear. Jack the Ripper. They say he walked like a cut, spoke like metal whispering, and thought like a cold cloud. I, the gas lamp, have watched through more nights than a clock can forgive. I have learned that a name is the first blade, a story is the second, and collective imagination, 6, that is the third and the sharpest. Tonight, turn off every light that doesn't remember. Let me tell you this, 0.5 with a flame that shivers, breathes, and keeps people's names. Whitechapel isn't a painting, it's a budget sheet. Cheap gin, cheaper beds, patched boots, and meals that stop before hunger does. Here, the price of a night is measured by how much you can forget. By day, burnt bread smell and cold breath cross like two stories unwilling to listen. By night, tavern glass fogs into a mirror that refuses an answer. On one corner, police stand inside jurisdiction lines that overlap like fishing net. On another, the penny press fattens its type with well-fed fear. The name Jack the Ripper did not appear by nature. It was directed by letters, by red ink, by a hunger to sell. But before all of that, there were people with given names. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. I'm not here to feed a myth. I'm here to return names to their owners. In Whitechapel, a rumor can outrun a horse and cart. When fear needs a silhouette, it grabs the nearest name. Jack, short, sharp, easy to shout. Ripper, long enough to carve imagination. And while the name swells, the lives that pass through my circle stay small yet complete, stories left mid-sentence. Mary Ann Nichols, Polly, once smiled over imagined new shoes. Annie Chapman, she liked her hair kept neat, even when old illness called her by name. Elizabeth Stride carried a voice from elsewhere, and eyes that glanced sideward, as if asking the night what it had planned. Kate could trade one story for one drink, and sometimes the story ran out of breath. Mary Jane Kelly, young, soft voice, she tried to light a room with her singing alone. I remember them with light, not to expose, but to hold. Because Whitechapel doesn't keep a monument, it keeps a trail of footsteps into the dark. A figure arrives on time and leaves on time. Testimony at night is breath on glass. Touch it and it blurs. Police write, press embroiders, and I count the flashes in passers-by eyes, fear, curiosity, and the relief that tonight the dark hasn't called their name. Once a shadow has a root, letters arrive to build the set. A letter can choose its audience better than a matinee. Dear Boss was a debut tailored for public imagination. Then Saucy Jackie, then From Hell. The handwriting may not be one hand, but the effect was, the myth bulged like headlines breaking the column grid. Once writing puts on the mask, night changes costumes too. Some nights, Whitechapel vibrates like a string pulled too hard. Two frights in one breath. A city holds and then gasps. I watch window lids lower one by one, like eyelids on a face that refuses to dream. When a city's eyelids shut, walls grow ears. A line of chalk with uncertain meaning, a scrap of cloth with uncertain sentence. In Whitechapel, evidence can be a crumpled poem, read to satisfy whoever holds it. I only saw one hand shake while writing, and another shake while wiping. When words are wiped, suspicions rewrite them in 100 voices. When fear demands a face, the city borrows from the crowd. Nicknames, origins, broken chapters of a life. They line up as a parade of doubt. Not everyone named is guilty. Many are simply fated. And when fate is paraded as a theory, the era's science tries to interrogate light. Whitechapel in 1888 did not own the tools to read everything from dust. They leaned on time, testimony, instinct, and sometimes luck, straying down the wrong lane. Borders between jurisdictions were chalk lines in daylight, brick walls at night, where a clue could fall into a different argument. Yet every era is rich in one thing: portraits drawn from what we cannot see. If you ask me who he is, I can only answer with the orbit the night bends around him. MO is habit. Signature is the private story of power he tells himself. He chooses hours when the city changes lungs, spaces with blurred edges, and victims whom society is quickest to blame when they no longer speak. But every orbit, no matter how well hidden, meets one last night for one person. A room small enough that loneliness can touch all four walls. Mary Jane Kelly, young, tired, still humming as if to keep the room warm. That night, my light stopped at the frame. Darkness shut the door to monologue. From then on, legend swallowed truth the way fog swallows flame. A nameless man can grow to the size of bold type. People argued about the culprit. 0.6, but rarely long enough about the cause. Poverty, addiction, prejudice. A city of too few beds and too little grace. So let's speak aloud what we know, don't know, and contest. We know, within a short strip of 1888, attacks focused on women living alone in scarcity and exposure. The name Jack the Ripper amplified fear through letters and headlines. We don't know true identity, how tightly some cases interlock, the exact role of letters in directing a crowd's attention. We contest, reread files with a non-sensational lens, compare behavioral patterns instead of hunting monsters, say victims' names first. Change the order of names and the story changes its breathing. Mary Ann Nichols, Polly, dreamed of new shoes. Annie Chapman kept tidy hair, even on tired days. Elizabeth Stride wore her hometown voice like a key that fit no door here. Catherine Eddowes left a story mid-arc. Mary Jane Kelly sang to light a lamp inside her chest. When we say them, Whitechapel becomes less a blurry map, 0.6, and more a place where people lived. By then, Jack is mostly a legal emptiness that closed too slowly. They replaced gas with electric, but darkness never needed tech. It only needs a story told out of order. The real inheritance here is a lesson. When a society chooses to believe in a monster, it becomes easier to forget people. To go farther, we must go deeper. Main music, piano noir 70 to 72 BPM, drone 25 dB. Support layer, whispery strings at transition lines, 400 to 600 ms fades. Core SFX, light rain, cartwheels, steel nib, tearing envelopes, constable steps, distant whistle, tower clock. Breathing, after dense imagery, 1.0 to 1.6. Relative levels, VO at reference. Music around 9 is 20 LUFS, SFX peak about 9 is 12 dB. Now let's widen the backdrop that history books sometimes skip. The street map looks like a chapped hand. The little lanes are fingerprints, each ridge a compromise between hunger and hope. Taverns are wells, they draw up rumor instead of water. Inside the maze, a constable's tin whistle is both comfort and alarm. They weren't caped shadows. They were people. Boots wet with weather, coats salted with work, notebooks damp at the corners. Lines between forces sometimes stood taller than brick. A clue a step beyond can become a committee meeting. Besides police, who testifies for the night? A doctor counts silence with a pocket watch. A reporter counts letters by the shilling. A lodging keeper counts coins by whether guests return. Every hand on a file leaves a mark, not fingerprints, 0.6, but motives. And fog, it has vision of its own. Fog softens the night's outline, turning shapes into theories. It taught me this. Certainty is a luxury item after dusk. Where luxuries thin out, coins decide the way home. Some nights, 5 coins mean survival, a temporary bed, a temporary meal, a temporary foothold. Without them, night becomes a funnel. It draws you toward places with no name. Amid the temporary, knives aren't only metal. Knife is a grammar of simple power. It cuts through voices, delays, dignity. I won't talk about wounds, only the syntax of the trespasser, short sentences. But language has borders just as police have borders. 2 forces, 2 authorities, 1 labyrinth. On paper, the line is thin. At night, it's a wall that information stumbles against. When info stumbles, rumor runs. Rumor eats into the night like yeast eats into dough. It rises fast, fragrant with agitation, and hungry for fact. And then the post serves dessert. A letter travels from hand to newsroom like an actor walking from wings to a spotlight. Between are stamps, streets, sorting rooms, and our species' desire to believe. Desire to believe is easily swapped for desire to be afraid. A late statement, a stare from the wrong angle, a coincidence dressed up as certainty, enough to spin the steering wheel of public talk. So sometimes you must check the night's clock. There is a golden hour at night, not for photographs, but for disappearing. When doors shut, feet go home, rain thins. And trust is as thin as fog on a doorknob. Once the rhythm is heard, the information market sets up stalls. The press is a market where headlines outsell narrative. Each column is a stall. The cheap ones crowd, the costly ones look respectable. In that market, there were no cameras, so people used imagination to build a stage. Without film, night becomes a silent picture. Anyone can dub the real. Lesson: notes are our lens. Breathing is our frame rate. Humanity is our key light. And with the lights hung, we now name the dawn properly. Whitechapel's dawn isn't clear. It's gray, like a day, not sure whether to feel lighter or heavier. But dawn has a habit. It puts objects back where they belong, 0.6, and puts people's names back onto our tongues. When names sit right on our tongues, a lamp may turn itself down. I have stood here long enough to practice gentle endings. If I must escort this night, I'll do it with 3 lines. 1. Don't feed the myth, feed the names. 2. Don't blame the dark, learn where to place light. Don't stop repeating ordinary mercies. They are what saves us from extraordinary harm. I am a flame on assignment, but tonight I choose to dim. Not for lack of gas, but for respect. If you take anything from Whitechapel, don't take the shadow of the nameless. Take names: Marianne Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. And if you find a corner too dark tomorrow, don't name the dark. Add a lamp? You've been listening to Veil Files Hosa Chuadon. If this story touched you, leave a name in the comments, the name of one kind thing you'll do tonight. See you in the next episode.